Hi guys, this is Tablet-News.com and I'm here with the ASUS ZenPad 7.0. It's the Z370C version of the Slate. It was announced at Computex 2015 and it's an affordable 7-inch tablet. It's got interchangeable backs, so this portion here can be replaced with either a special audio cover or a battery cover. The product should be found at around $150 on Amazon. So this model has apparently been inspired by fashion, according to ASUS. It measures 8.7 millimeters in thickness and weighs 272 grams. In case the name sounds familiar, we've also recently tested the ASUS ZenPad S 8.0. So this is the ZenPad 7.0. It has the same thickness as the Nexus 7 2013 and it's about 18 grams lighter, which is good. It also looks a bit like the Nexus 7 if you look at it from the front. It has quite big bezels for 2015. The case is made of a plastic material that feels quite tough. It has pretty good grip, especially on the sides where it's a soft touch plastic, while the center area feels more like a hardened leather imitation. It's also very easy to use with a single hand, so if you're planning to doing some reading or simply some browsing to the menus, one hand should be enough. It's a comfy tablet, easy to hold, and the back imitates hard leather, as I said before. So up front we find this speaker here, quite big, front camera, sensors, and also very big logo in this area here. Some may say that this area may be wasted. Anyway, below it there may be important components. So speaker, camera and sensors, while at the back the main camera without a flash, of course the logo, and this is actually a removable back cover, which is something you see more on phones than on tablets. It's quite hard to remove. As you can see, it has those little clips, but in the end you should be able to do it, and you should be able to replace it with an audio cover, the ASUS audio cover, that includes 6 speakers and including one subwoofer and a power case that offers you 14 hours of battery life. Here you can find the micro SD card slot, so you have to do all of this process to insert a card and expand the memory of the Slate. The lid is back on now, excuse the noises, but that's it. And now at the top we got the audio jack right here, while at the bottom we find the microphone and micro USB port. Okay, and at the left side there is absolutely nothing, as you can see, while on the right side we got the power button and volume buttons, both with OK feedback. The Slate will come in black, white and something called Aurora Metallic. It's fashion inspired, it feels pretty solid, and several other interesting accessories are the Zen clutch, which is a fashion cover, the Zen case, which is a colorful cover. Overall, I would say that the design is quite okay for an affordable Slate, not very thick and customizable. Those are two good aspects. Now, as far as the hardware is concerned, we're getting a 7-inch screen, an IPS LCD that's LED backlit, and has a 1280 over 800 pixel resolution. Inside, the processor is a quad-core 64-bit unit. It's the Intel Atom X3 C3200, clocked at up to 900 MHz according to CPU-Z. The GPU is a Mali 450 MP4. Other specs include 2 GB of RAM, but there's also a version that has 1 GB of RAM, and storage is either 8 or 16 GB on this Slate. Once again, there's a micro SD card slot under the hood, and it allows you to add up to 128 GB extra. You also get some cloud storage, like 5 GB of web storage from ASUS or 100 GB in Google Drive for 2 years. Camera wise, there's a 0.3 megapixel shooter here and a 5 megapixel back shooter here, and there are other models that have, as far as I know, a 2 megapixel camera at the back or even 8 megapixel one. We have the 5 megapixel version. On the connectivity side, we got micro USB, Wi-Fi BGN, Bluetooth 4.0, Miracast and GPS. And now the sensors, well, we got a G sensor, E-compass, light sensor and hall sensor. In the section we like to call others, there is the speaker right here that promises DTH HD sound. Now, as far as the battery is concerned, let's go to the screenshots and analyze it. So first things first, it's a 13 watt-hour lithium polymer unit, and ASUS promises 8 hours of usage, and they mean usage like 720p playback with brightness at 100 nits. In our test, that involves HD video playback in a loop with Wi-Fi on and brightness at 200 lux, we achieved 4 hours and 32 minutes, which is totally underwhelming even for a low-cost tablet. It's almost the lowest value we ever tested, keep that in mind because it's important. At least we beat the Evolio GoFun 3G tablet, but not by very much. That one scores 4 hours and 22 minutes of playback. And we scored below other tablets that are not so well rated, like the Chewy V8, it scored 5 hours and 58 minutes of playback, Nexus 7 2013, 7 hours, and the ASUS ZenPad S 8.0, 6 hours and 50 minutes. So the battery could have been much better in the playback area. Now as far as continuous usage simulation goes, in PC Mark we scored 4 hours and 19 minutes, which is, I would say, okay-ish. We beat the Evolio GoFun 3G that scored in this test 2 hours and 34 minutes, and the Chewy V8 with its 3 hours and 29 minutes. Still, we're below the ASUS ZenPad S 8.0 that had 4 hours and 59 minutes, the Nokia N1 with its 7 hours, and this is not very impressive once again. The charging is at least reasonable at 2 hours and 16 minutes, it's faster than the Xiaomi Mi Pad that needs 2 hours and a half to charge, the Chewy V8 that needs almost 3 hours, or the ASUS ZenPad S 8.0 that needs 3 hours and 24 minutes. It's also slower than the Evolio GoFun 3G that charges in 1 hour and 45 minutes. If you want to do a bit of power management, you have to go to the settings, power management, and we got the power saver option here with 3 main modes. There is ultra saving mode that will maximize the battery life by limiting the performance and most background data, and some apps may not update unless you open them. The optimized mode is the balanced one, and then there's the customized mode where you tweak the experience, select when to turn on the ultra saving mode, reduce brightness, and allow or don't allow some IM apps to be used. Okay, and going back here, there is the auto start manager that allows you to select which apps are denied or allowed to auto start in order to save battery. Overall, I would say that the battery could be better here. It's a bit of a letdown. However, ASUS offers us the power case that in some cases is bundled with the device, so you're not missing out on anything if you have that accessory that gives you 14 hours of usage time. Now, as far as the acoustics are concerned, this front speaker here is pretty generous for a 7-inch tablet. It has DTS HD sound according to ASUS, and it also offers 360-degree surround on headphones, keep that in mind, and there's also Sonic Master technology as usual for an ASUS tablet. This is a music player, typical Zen UI interface, and options include a sleep timer and a bunch of settings like the fine-tune audio settings with options for the volume, bass, treble, dialogue enhancement on or off, good for movies, equalizer with 5 custom channels, and that's about it. Or you can pick your own equalizer, choose Audio Wizard or the Android stock equalizer. Some streaming options here, and that's about it. Now, as far as the actual experience goes, here we go. Now some conclusions: we got an okay volume, a clear sound, an okay bass, good high notes, and a crisp sound, plus no distortion that I could hear. You can also use some custom effects through the Audio Wizard application. Here we go. So you just saw how important the Audio Wizard thing is. With it deactivated, the sound totally loses its gravity, so to say. So it's an important mode to use, and it leads straight into those audio effects if you enter it just like we did before. This is the advanced effect area, which leads here again. You also have a cute visualizer at the top. We also did a decibel meter test here. which I'm going to show you immediately. And it showed us a value of 84.4 decibels at the back and 85.6 decibels at the front, which is very good for a tablet, for an affordable tablet. We beat the ASUS ZenPad S8.0 that had 79.3 decibels, so we beat it by quite a bit. We also beat the Xiaomi Mi Pad that had 83.3 decibels. Still, there are other models that score more. Nokia N1 scores 89.8 decibels, and the Samsung Galaxy Tab A 9.7 scores 87.6 decibels. Overall, we have nothing to object in the sound area, and now we move on to the screen department. 7-inch diagonal IPS LCD LED backlight and 1280 over 800 pixel resolution. The tablet supports 10-finger multi-touch. It has Gorilla Glass Generation 1 protection, anti-fingerprint coating, full lamination, and something that ASUS calls true-to-life technology that's borrowed from TV sets. 178-degree view angles are promised here, and a blue light filter to protect your eyes. The gallery is being used as the video player here, and it doesn't have any special options, but let's go to the actual viewing experience. So a crisp image, slightly oversaturated, not very bright, but with wide viewing angles. Since the contrast is not very good, I wouldn't advise you to use this slate in full sunlight because it may not be very legible. The pixels are of the RGB stripe type, and now let's see them in the gallery because we use the microscope, so let's check them out. These are the pixels of the tablet screen under the microscope, once again RGB stripe pixels, and we also measured the brightness with a not very impressive 274 lux units measured with our lux meter on a white background. In the meantime, this tablet manages to beat the Chewy V8 that scores 153 lux, the ASUS ZenPad S8.0, believe it or not, we beat it, that one scores 257 lux, and the LG G-Pad 8.3, barely, that one scores 260 lux. Of course, there are many models that are brighter than this one, like the Xiaomi Mi Pad 310 lux, Nokia N1 355 lux, or the Nexus 7 2013 with a very impressive 500 lux. Overall, the brightness is quite weak, as is the contrast, as I mentioned before, but at least we have some tweaks that we can apply to the visual experience. We got brightness level with an automatic brightness mode, font style and font size, daydream and screen color mode that actually has quite a few tweaks. Color temperature can be changed. We got balanced mode, blue light filter to protect your eyes better, a vivid mode that totally oversaturates everything, and customized with hue and saturation with 2 sliders included. So overall, not a very impressive screen, but I would say that for the price, it's okay because it doesn't interfere with your gaming or your video watching unless you're doing that in the sun. Now, as far as the cameras are concerned, 0.2 megapixel at the front, 5 megapixel at the back, and ASUS Pixel Master technology. Don't expect much from the camera, it's a tablet camera after all. The one on the back has f2.0 aperture, and the camera UI, you can see it right here, the camera app does not open fast, I'll give it that much, and the experience feels familiar. If you watched our review of the ASUS ZenPad S8.0, it's exactly the same experience. Options include white balance, ISO, exposure, optimization, resolution that can be 5 megapixels in 4:3, 4 megapixels in 16:9, and there's also anti-shake, image quality, fine or standard, timestamp, focus modes, metering mode, and video options that include filming in HD or TV. Several other basic options like anti-flicker, and then we got the main capture modes. Auto, HDR, beautification, night, depth of field, effect, selfie, GIF, panorama, miniature, smart remove, all smile, slow motion, and time-lapse are all available here. We didn't take many pictures with this slate, it's an affordable tablet and the pictures suit that attribute. Only a few shots indoors that are slightly yellowish, not very detailed. They're okay for posting on Facebook if you're in a hurry, and okay for the price tag of this slate. Picture taking takes quite long, but at least the colors are decent. Once again, it's good enough to post stuff on Facebook if you're in a hurry and have no other picture taking device around. you'll be unimpressed by the details and by the yellowy hue, but the colors are reasonable. If you want to do some video editing, some photo editing, we got these options here. There's one related to human faces. You can soften the screen, brighten the skin, make the eyes bigger, add some blush, and then there are the other options like the effects and filters, frames, crop, straighten, rotate, and sharpness, negative, black and white, and all of those goodies. We're totally done with the camera. Once again, the camera, that's just a basic feature of a tablet, the strict necessary. As far as performance goes, temperature is an important aspect, and after playing the game Riptide Gp2 for 15 minutes with 3D graphics, we achieved a pretty high 43 degrees Celsius. The tablet gets hot but not overheated. It will not affect your play. It does not, let's say, burn your hand. That's totally not the case. Just hot, not overheated, not exaggerated. As far as the web browser goes, you can either use Chrome or this one, the stock browser. We got trending searches here and a comfy keyboard with a numeric row and swipe support. But let's load Tablet News. Not the fastest browser in the world, that's for sure, but it does its job reasonably in the end. Okay, time for the benchmarks. In case you're wondering, I decided to compare this tablet with an LG model and with the Nexus 7 2013. So I compared the ZenPad 7.0 to the LG G-Pad 8.3, Nexus 7 2013 and the AllView Viva H7S tablet. This is a battle between an Intel Atom X3 processor accompanied by 2GB of RAM, the Snapdragon 600 with 2GB of RAM, Snapdragon S4 Pro with 2GB of RAM, and the MediaTek NT8382 with 1GB of RAM. We have all the benchmarks here and let's take them one by one. First of all, quadrant. In quadrant, the ZenPad 7 scores 7,328 points, gets beaten by the LG G-Pad 8.3 with its 12,000 points, but it beats the Nexus 7 2013 that scored 4,758 points. We also beat the AllView Viva H7S tablet that scored 5,553 points. Antutu is up next with a score of 20,903, barely below the LG G-Pad 8.3 that had 21,816, also just a bit above the Nexus 7 from 2013, that one had 20,056, and it beats the AllView Viva H7S that scored 15,273. Nanomark gave us a score of 59.3 frames per second, very close to the LG G-Pad 8.3, 59.2 frames per second, beating the Nexus 7 2013 with its 58.6 frames per second and beating the AllView Viva H7S with its 43.7 frames per second. There is also Velamo, which you can see here. It scored 1293 in Chrome in the HTML5 test, while the LG G-Pad 8.3 had 2505, Nexus 7 2013 had 1593, and finally the AllView tablet 1691. 3D Mark is also in the house with a score of 5604, not very impressive. The LG tablet had 9456, the Nexus tablet had 7185, and finally the AllView Viva tablet had 2782, so yes, you can go lower than that. Finally, Geekbench 3, 352 in the single core test and 1017 in the multi-core test, while the LG G-Pad 8.3 had 544 and 1571 points. The Nexus 7 2013 had 575 over 1753, and finally the AllView tablet 345 over 1063. GFX should also be in the mix here, however that benchmark couldn't run the T-Rex off-screen test on this device, the 1080p test, so we leave it out. Then we registered the speed test with a value of 21 MB/s in download and 19 in upload, while the AllView tablet registered 22 over 17 MB/s. Next up is its browser mark with a low score of 786, so not a very fast browser. The LG G-Pad 8.3 had 2679, the Nexus 7 2013 had 2095, and the AllView tablet had 667. Very low score in SunSpider as well. Here the lower the better, and we had a high score which is not good. 2250, LG G-Pad had 1000, and the AllView Viva H7S 1282. Finally, in the Basemark X test 8805, which is lower than the LG G-Pad 8.3 is 9000, and above the Nexus 7013 8300. Overall, this slate is only able to win 2 out of 11 benchmarks, which is a bit weak even for the Intel Atom X3 processor and an affordable device. I would have to say that in spite of the fact that the interface may seem fluid in this review, in real life, in some instances it became laggy and unresponsive and a bit buggy. Let me give you some examples. Every once in a while the power button would not respond to the command, you had to press it really hard or reset the tablet to get it going. I received some gallery errors. I also needed to keep the button pressed really hard to reset the device because it didn't respond, and at some point it was stuck in landscape. I could use it like this alone, couldn't turn it to portrait, didn't want to, got stuck like that, and it even got stuck to a black screen, to the lock screen, so a few resets here and there which were annoying. So it's a bit buggy and a bit laggy, not a fluid interface. At least it learns the game Riptide Gp2 without a problem. So let's see the game in action. Riptide Gp2 with 3D graphics, some nice lighting effects and some nice water effects. I also tested other games on this tablet, like Ski Safari 2. I'm reasonably sure it can run Asphalt 8, since that game seems to run on almost anything, including the Nokia X low-end handset. Okay, here we go. Graphics looking quite nice, nice reflections. Responsive to my commands so far. The water is looking good, and that speed effect also looks nice. Taking corners, splashes of water, nice reflections, and I would say that the game runs fine in spite of that temperature reaching a bit of a high level, as I mentioned before. Okay, so that's the gaming experience. I said it before, the tablet may seem fluid in this review, but every once in a while it becomes laggy and buggy and a bit stuck. As far as the software goes, let's see what we're dealing with here. It's Android 5.0.2 Lollipop with the Zen UI on top, the latest Zen UI as far as I know. Basically, you should watch the review of the ASUS ZenPad S 8.0. The exact same things I said there, I would say here again. This interface is flat, still colorful, with material design influences. It has a ton of options, customizations, elements, and all that. It also has some cute looking widgets and also useful, like this one here for tasks and boosting, or this one here for do it later, or this one for super note. Okay, if you keep the screen pressed, you reach this area that allows you to customize the home screens and everything related to the usage experience. We got apps and widgets, with the widgets being here and being better looking than on rival tablets. We also have some preferences, which include a layout mode, 2-layer mode or 1-layer mode if you want to get rid of the app drawer, scrollable wallpaper, transparent status bar, background transparency. You can change the scroll animation and icon packs if you want to. We go back here. You can edit pages, which means you can play around with the home screens. And also you can choose wallpapers for the home screen, lock screen, or both of them. Icon packs are also selectable. You can download more if you want to. Scroll effects can also be tweaked. Quite a few options. And we got launcher fonts available here, like options like font size, icon label color, and select font. And the preferences that we already saw, system settings, and more that can allow you to encourage the developers. Okay, so that's about it. Next up on the list is the multitasking with the usual carousel and swipe to the side to close. There's also screen pinning if you want to do that and keep an app pinned to the screen at all time. The drop down area reveals the notifications and the quick settings that are shown as quite big bubbles here and include boost, calculator, auto start manager, audio wizard, and several other options. Then we get to the settings area. That's pretty straightforward. Options related to connectivity, display. There is also Zen Motion that supports touch gestures. Double tap to open up the screen or suspend it, draw a W to launch the internet browser, and some motion gestures here like shaking to take a screenshot or flipping by turning the device over. Then there's do not disturb with some exceptions if you want to, options related to the ASUS cover accessory, and the storage, apps, battery, and ASUS customized settings, like for example taking a screenshot by keeping this button pressed and how to save it. Then there is easy mode. If you're a beginner in the tablet area or an elderly, you may fancy this interface. Then we got security, install stuff from unknown sources or encrypt the device, date and time, accessibility, and Zen UI instant update is also here. Okay, that's it as far as the software and UI are concerned, and now let's talk about the pre-installed apps. We got a lot of bloatware here. We also had that on the ZenPad S 8.0, and I have to say that it's an interesting aspect, maybe useful, that these apps are installed. Once they're installed, they're automatically introduced in the proper folders. The tablet feels that a game belongs in the game folder and a productivity app in the productivity folder. So let's see the pre-installed app list. We start off with Master, Amazon Kindle, free games, TripAdvisor, there's contacts, email, and Omelette chat, the full Google suite with Google Chrome, Gmail, Maps, YouTube, Drive, Play Music, Hangouts, Photos, Google Plus, and Slides, and Maps looks like this. It was updated recently, and here we go. Reasonably fluid compared to what I said before about the whole buggy and laggy thing. Eventually the lag will appear. Okay, we proceed further. So that's the full suite. Photography involves camera, gallery, and photo collage. And here we have browser, calculator, calendar, do it later, web storage, sheets, and docs. Do it later is a very simple application. It allows you to create a more immediate list of tasks and allows you to sync it in the cloud if need be. With do it later, you can add a web page to view later, create a note to view later, or for example, set an email to view later. Tools is a very rich folder. It includes ASUS support, Audio Wizard, Auto Start Manager, Backup, Clock, File Manager, Mirror, Power Saver, Quick Memo, which is very straightforward, allows you to take a very quick memo and scribble it. Then we got Sound Recorder, Splendid, which is the screen tweaking you saw before. And then we got Supernote, that's a productivity app. It's quickly catching up to the Samsung S Note. It allows you to draw, it allows you to write and do a lot of other things, create notebooks that have multiple pages, and used a few templates like these ones here. You can select diary, you can enter it, start editing it, you can even draw stuff, use a variety of pens, and even insert stuff like text files, timestamps, stamps, shapes, and take a photo and include it here. So pretty complex for the productivity app that's not the S Note. The list goes on, and we've got here system update, data transfer, downloads, Google settings, Play Store settings, voice search, and then the benchmarks we installed, kids mode. There's also mini movie if you want to edit some videos on the go, music, my ASUS, weather, Zen Circle, Zinio, Street View, and finally the games folder here. So those are all the apps. I have to say there's quite a bit of bloatware here. Now it's time for the verdict related to the ASUS ZenPad 7.0 as mentioned before. So on the Pro side, this is still an affordable tablet at $150. It has a pretty much okay design. I like the concept of attachable covers. I hope to see it more on further devices. It has a good speaker at the front and an excellent speaker, I imagine, if you attach those 6 extra speakers with an accessory. It also has a pretty good screen if you ignore the low brightness. So if that's not a problem for you, you can enjoy games and videos on that below 200 lux brightness. The camera is reasonable for the price, and you can run pretty much the majority of the games in the Play Store without a problem. On the con side, we got the slight bugs and lags that I mentioned before. They only happen every once in a while, maybe just the fault of this unit. The battery is low even for this low price. A bit over 4 hours of playback isn't enough nowadays. The brightness could be a bit higher. The benchmarks are also lower than expected from an Intel Atom X3 processor, and the slate gets a bit hot if you play a game for more than 15 minutes. A bit hot, not overheated. And then there's the bloatware, of course. So I'm going to go ahead and give this ASUS tablet an 8.7 out of 10 for design, because it looks quite good, 8.5 for the hardware, and a 7.5 for OS and UI, because some aspect has to pay the price of the bugs and lag. So 7.5 for the OS and UI. Also a 10 for the price tag, that's really good. The final grade for this ASUS tablet is 8.67 out of 10. It's a decent looking device. That reminds me of the Nexus 7 tablets. It has some nice accessories to go with it. If you find it bundled with an accessory, that's a nice catch, and if I had an accessory here, the grade would have been higher, probably. Those 14 hours sure sound good. Anyway, it's still a bit buggy and laggy, the brightness remains low. However, if you want to do a bit of casual gaming, casual browsing, and the average social networking, it should be enough for you. So 8.67 out of 10, and you can even do some productivity if you use Supernote as mentioned before. That is it from Tablet-News.com, 8.67 out of 10 for the ASUS ZenPad 7.0. Bye bye.